Yeah, and we're away. Welcome everybody, and thanks very much for taking the time to participate with the 4C Initiative. This is now our 17th session, second last in the series, so you're very welcome to this, and I hope you'll come along to our last session of the series, which is on Thursday. So as usual, the session will be recorded, which I've just commenced, and that'll be available from the free resources section of our website, www.4cinitiative.com, and it's usually up within a week of the session taking place. So if you want another look at this session, or you'd like to watch any of the other sessions, then you're more than welcome to do that too. So yeah, don't forget that the other 16 sessions are up there, so you can access them from today. The session from last week is up now, just recently up, so if you missed it or would like to take another look, please do so in the free resources section. I'd like to also mention the sponsors of the initiative, who are Nominet Trust and Cambridge University Press, and thank them again for making all this possible. So just, you have all been muted as you entered, and we'll keep everyone muted throughout the session, just otherwise people talking over each other and interference kind of brings down the session a little. So we will have any communication or questions through the chat function, and Richard and myself will be looking at that during the presentation. So we'll either deal with questions during, if Richard wants to, or else afterwards, depending. So yeah, on to today. Today we're extremely lucky to have Richard Close to speak to us about how to integrate Web 2.0 applications, content, and methods in the classroom, and specifically the Global Learning Framework. So I'd really like to show my appreciation to Richard for taking the time to be part of the project, and for sharing his knowledge in this way. We're very lucky to have him. So some of you may know Richard. I know some of you are from some of his educational communities. For those of us who aren't that familiar with Richard, I'll just give you a little bit of background. Richard has 20 years as a learning strategist for organizations ranging from IBM, Microsoft, a number of e-learning vendors, U.S. public schools, and African missions. He is an international speaker, author, photographer, meme creator, and e-learning developer. He is the author of the Global Learning Framework and is currently exploring the building of global learning community centers in Africa and India. His community is globallearningframework.ning.com, which I'll type into the chat, so you can all have a look at that afterwards. And if you'd like to join him on that, I'm sure you're welcome to do so. So I'll now hand you over to Richard, who's going to take you through around a 40-minute presentation, I believe. There'll then be time for questions, and we'll do through the chat, as I say. Richard will be sharing his desktop from the start, so just be prepared for that. So okay, if you're ready, Richard, you can take it away.
All right. We're there. I hope everyone can see me. Let me pop up the chat here so I can see what other people are doing. What I will be doing is I will run through this. There's this enormous amount of slides, which I know is a faux pas for training in some ways, but in this it may be appropriate. In talking with Neil, since this is a closing session, what I'd like to do is share a presentation that we've done at a number of universities. And it's a presentation that people have taken to use, again, and show it to parents, administrators, to show how these things work, how Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 work in the classroom. One of the things that, missions that we have in this session is not to show you a whole ton of YouTubes and why 3 million people are watching the Laughing Baby YouTube, or hit you with a whole mess of technical things. But I hope to change your perspective of Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 and why it's changing your world, and help you explain it. Because one of the biggest problems that you have when you go into the ASTE conferences and the major conferences is the 95% of the rest of the school that are terrified of doing all of this and not seeing how it works. The other thing is that we want to do on this is try to give you the thread to tie all the Web 2.0 applications and help you try to make sense of learning management systems versus web education systems and so on and so forth. So this should be prove to be a fun session. Normally I do all sorts of polling and that type of thing, but I'm going to leave it for questions at the end. I will at the end be skimming through the questions that you have in the chat. So please go ahead and use chat, and then I'll pull up some of those at the end. And I hope Neil will look at some of those chat questions. If you want to email Neil directly that you know him, you can do that, and he can post some of those questions to me at the end. Again, as I was chatting with people earlier, we have a very diverse group. We have people from ICTs that are out in the Philippines and Africa. We have academic people. We have teachers. We have e-learning developers. And so I think the fun thing that you're going to see is how we kind of sew all those people together. And with that, we'll just kind of rock and roll, as they say. This photograph, by the way, is a great photograph. There's a 10,000-acre mission in Zambia next to Victoria Falls. And these children saw an integrated choir in the U.S. sing, and they said, one day we would love to be able to be taped and do everything. So we actually taped them in their own concert. And here's this class seeing themselves for the first time is a video conference. It was a lot of fun. The other photograph after this is too blurry because everyone was yelling and screaming for 20 minutes. It was kind of a fun moment. So with that, let me get back on this application and move down. Real quick about me, 20 years worth of e-learning consulting. Some of the things that I will bash about traditional e-learning and LMS systems. I was one of the instigators writing some of those original papers for IDC on it. A third of my time and money goes towards Africa, also in Brooklyn and New York. I work with a 100,000 square foot adult learning center, but I work particularly with poverty as education as an empowering feature. This is the Global Learning Framework. I will share questions on that. As a community I have, you'll find a real diverse group of people on here. One person asked what a NING is. This is a NING is. It is one of the best educational tools imaginable for collaborative learning. They are free. They will go paid, but they'll come out with a new program in the summer. And that's me in Kenya. So that's it. Let's go on. Why a Global Learning Framework? Back in '98, I did a seminar in front of one of the major e-learning conferences, and I said it's not about index learning. All learning will move to search learning. And an analyst called me up last summer and challenged me to write that up. And that's how all of this got started. But global learning comes from something from those of us that are international here know very well. It's a very simple thing. Knowledge of farming in one part of the country makes people extremely wealthy, but lack of knowledge in another part of the planet can kill people and does kill people. And it really shouldn't be that way. And if we have the internet and we have a way of globally teaching and sharing classrooms and all of that, we can make this, for the first time in the history of the world, ancient history. Knowledge liberates. This woman, interestingly enough, I photographed 3 years ago, and a bishop that happened to be visiting my house saw the photograph, and she is an orphan that wandered into an orphanage in Africa. Her name's Jennifer. She is a teacher now. She has a child, and she teaches in a school. And the orphanage raised her an educator. And African women are becoming entrepreneurs, teachers, leaders, pastors, and all of this is education, of which everyone on the end here has power to do. Global Learning Framework is colonial versus industrial heresy, and this is where we start to get fun. Your traditional classroom was life in a box. Now when you open up a textbook, it goes completely global. It is also collaborative. Before, what you taught with a textbook, all the numbers and the pictures stayed there. All the perceptions and values that wrapped around it were rigid, but in a collaborative world, that whole changes. It is revolutionary. Every moment when you teach, those teachers that do project-based learning in a classroom knows the classroom is changing the curriculum in many ways, the ideas in many ways, as they learn. So it's very revolutionary. And the web's business model is entirely different than the portal-based LMS model, which I'll go into later.